Welcome back. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to submit an observation using the Las Cumbres Observatory observation portal. I'm going to assume that you've already logged in. If not, do that now. You'll probably want to have a standard for naming observation requests across your program. This name will be used for distinguishing between all the different requests made for this proposal. Using something like target name-team name might be a good idea, so you can always know the details of the request at a glance. Once you have a name, select your proposal. We will leave most of these settings at the default values and scroll down to the target section. There are three ways you can specify a target. You can search for your target by name, add the sky coordinates, the right ascension and declination, or add orbital elements for moving objects. For a sidereal target, this is a simple matter of either looking up the coordinates based on the name or entering them by hand. For a non-sidereal target, one that moves against the background of stars, like planets or asteroids, change the type to non-sidereal. The fields will change to orbital elements. You can still do a lookup on the target name, but first you need to select the scheme correctly. MPC minor planet is the default and should be used for all types of asteroids. But you'll want to change the scheme if you choose one of the major planets or a comet. For this example, I'm going to set up an observation of the near-Earth object 2025 GX. You can see that once I've typed the name, the portal fills in the orbital elements automatically. If the portal doesn't find your object, you can enter the orbital elements by hand. Please remember that major planets, minor planets and comets all require slightly different information if you're entering these elements manually. There is an extra option below the orbital elements labelled fractional ephemeris rate. Setting it to 0 tracks with the stars, while setting it to 1 tracks the target. Setting this value to 0.5 is a common strategy to keep trailing to a minimum for both the target and the background stars. Next, you'll need to set up your filters and exposure times. Enter the number of exposures you'd like in this sequence in the exposure count. Next, how long you'd like to expose for in exposure time. For advice on how long to expose for, you can use our exposure time calculator or check out our data archive for similar observations of your target. Then select the readout mode. In this example, we're using the LCO 0.4 meter class of telescopes, which has two readout modes. The central 30 arc minute square, which is the default, and full frame. Please be aware that if you select full frame, your field of view will be 2 by 1.2 degrees and the file size will be a few hundred megabytes. You'll also need to specify a filter for this observation. Here we're going to select Pan-STARRS W because that gives us a wide bandwidth for better detecting our faint NEO. If you'd like multiple filters in your observation, you can clone this configuration. Finally, you'll need to select a time window when you'd like your observations to be done during. If you set a longer window, the scheduler will have more opportunities to schedule your observations. If you set a shorter window, you may not be successful because of bad weather or higher priority requests. In this example, we're going to set our window to 12 hours, so we can have our data by tomorrow morning. The portal provides visibility graphs to help you determine the best observation times. These graphs show when your target is observable between the times you've entered. There is a horizontal black line marking the maximum air mass for these observations. The default value is 1.6. but you can change this value in the Constraints section. The air mass of a target is a measure of how thick the atmosphere is at a height above the horizon. Ideally, you want your target to be at a low air mass, so the image is nice and sharp. A high air mass will result in a fainter, fuzzier image. Now, you've entered all the essential information needed to submit your request. In the next video, I'll cover some of the extra configuration options.